Norman, would one of y'all say prayer for us before we get started?
Our Father in heaven, we thank you for the many blessings we receive each day. We ask that you help us to not take those for granted. We ask that you be with us as we come together tonight to make decisions on behalf of the citizens here in the county, that we do it in a way that's pleasing in your sight. We continue to ask to protect us during this COVID situation that we're dealing with, and continue to be with those that are working directly with battling that virus, that you protect each one of them. I ask that you go with us throughout the rest of this meeting, continue to keep us safe and bless us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the meeting to order. First thing on the agenda, approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Motion by Tommy. Second by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Next we have approved payment of bills. Motion by, who was it? Darren. Second by Kevin. All in favor?
Aye.
Next we have approved treasurer's budget transfers as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Neil. Second by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Next we have approved treasurer's monthly settlement.
Make a motion.
Motion by Brian. Second by Tommy. All in favor?
Aye.
Next we have approved second reading of Grayson County Fiscal Court's 2020-21 budget amendment number 1. Angel, you got anything on that?
No, I already read it last time.
Okay, y'all got any questions on it? I know she sent it to you. Any questions?
Nope.
All right, need a motion.
Make a motion.
Motion by Kevin, second by Darren, all in favor?
Aye.
Next we have approved jailer's payment of bills.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Neil, second by Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Next we need to approve jail's construction bills.
Make a motion.
Motion by Brian,
Second.
second by Darren, all in favor?
Aye.
Next we have approved jailer's monthly settlement.
Make a motion.
Motion by Kevin,
Second.
second by Neil, all in favor?
Aye.
Next we have approved jailer's budget transfers.
Motion.
Motion by Darren,
Second.
second by Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Next we have approved sheriff's monthly settlement.
Make a motion.
Motion by Tommy,
Second.
second by Darren, all in favor?
Aye.
Next we have approved sheriff's 2021 budget. I think you all have been sent that. Y'all got any questions about it?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Neil,
Second.
second by Tommy, all in favor?
Aye.
Next we have approved clerk's 2021 budget, which you was also sent. Is there any questions about that? Nothing? Need a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Darren, second by Tommy, all in favor?
Aye.
Next we have approved clerk's revised 2020 budget. Is there any questions about that? Basically amendment, correct? Any questions?
Nope. Make a motion.
Motion by Neil,
Second.
second by Darren, all in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have approved clerk's annual order setting maximum amounts for deputies and assistants, which we do this every year, so I just need a motion to do
Make a
that.
motion.
Motion by Brian,
I'll second.
second by Neil, all in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have accept Deidre Whiteley's occupational tax administrator bond for 12/5/20 through 12/5/21, which is also repetitive, so. Motion by Tommy, second by Kevin, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, need, let's see, I'm gonna skip that, approve first reading of ordinance related to the dogs, let's come back to that. Next we have, approved resolution to address the transportation funding, which will be going to Frankfurt, and you all know about that, I've told you about that, and need a motion to do that.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Brian, second by Darren, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, other new business. Got a bill for the, Jason, which he'll pay that out of the jail bond for Bailey's for $22,500 for this month. And it appears that, due is $148,000 is what's left due.
After that 22?
Yeah, is, amount due this request is, 22.5.
Yeah,
So I just need a motion to go ahead and pay that.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Tommy,
Second.
second by Darren, all in favor?
Aye.
Would you pass that around to
Sign
Jason,
it.
please?
You
You may
gotta
sign
Yeah,
it?
you
Here,
gotta
I'm sorry.
sign.
All right, next we have, to approve the 911 Grayson County employee pay slots. I need a motion on that.
I make a motion.
Motion by Darren,
Second.
second by Tommy, all in favor? All right, next we have, new business. Anything, Norman, you got anything new? Jason?
No.
I'm sorry to go through this fast, guys. I've got somewhere I've got to be here in just a little bit, so, Kevin?
No.
Anything?
No.
Tommy? New business? Anything? Neil?
No.
Jeremy? Nothing? All right, so no new business. Now we'll go back to approve first reading of the ordinance of the aggressive dogs. Jeremy and Kevin, I'll give you all the floor.
Thank you. All right. Well, gentlemen of the court, we have a problem in the county. And my goal here was, working with Kevin and other people, was to try to find a specific answer through an ordinance. What I am talking about is a problem that, since I've been in office for almost 2 years, which I don't think this is a new problem, is aggressive dogs on people's property and out in the roadway. And so, listening to these calls and receiving these letters and meeting with people, there's lots of complaints about dogs all over the county. Well, these dogs are loose on my property, things like that. Well, we live in a rural county, and that's not exactly the issue that we're most concerned about. The issue has to do with some of the more recent examples at the beginning of the year where we've met with people and discussed. And, for example, Mike Adams is a neighbor, and this is, you could add him to a list of 20 others. Mike Adams has a neighbor, he lives out in the county. The dogs come out, they run over to his property, get in his yard, and they start barking at him, snapping. You know, he's afraid. He doesn't want to kill the animals. He wants the neighbors just to keep the animals up. And so, in that situation, we don't have much recourse. The usual answer is to send a letter saying, you know, if these animals of yours, if you don't keep them up, then you could be civilly liable. You could be sued if they bite someone or they destroy some property. Well, these letters, they fall on deaf ears because generally the people that receive these letters, they say, well, sue me. Or they say, well, they're not going to sue me. Someone's not going to go out to that effort. That is your pretty basic situation. Another situation that comes up concerning these aggressive dogs is when the cyclists, we have a pretty good community of cyclists that ride our county roads and highways here, and they're chased by dogs that are loose. And they chase them down the road, they bark, they bite at their heels. Me and Kevin Fulkerson met with a lady from his area and the judge as well. And she had been chased by these dogs. I can't remember the road, maybe Kevin remembers. But been chased by the dogs multiple times. These cyclists, they have to mace the dogs. We've sent letters to these people and they said, you don't have an ordinance, you can't do anything. It's not a crime. We're not gonna keep our dogs up. This lady had to her life had to be brought back. These dogs chased her and they got underneath her bike and she flipped and she was unresponsive. And luckily, one of the people out there was able to do CPR and save her life. We met with her. When she wants to ride down a separate road where there's the same issue, you know, she's got a lot of PTSD from that situation, and it prevents her from doing that. There are other common situations, much like this, many, many ones. Now, what I have tried to do is aim at drafting an ordinance based on other counties' ordinances that is limited, not to just keeping the dogs up through the county, but it's limited to dealing with these aggressive dogs that harass people, just people. We're not talking about neighborhood dogs that get over into another person's yard and get into a fight with their dogs or bark at other dogs. We can't deal with that. Our animal control officer can't deal with that. He's requested for 2 years to give him some ability to do some things. Kevin, do you have anything to add before I go into the ordinance?
Just, you know, there was 3 different situations in the first district. They were all, we were actually sent video by some people who were riding bikes through there where the dogs were very aggressive. I think I sent the video to Jeremy as well, and I think maybe Kevin looked at it when we met with the lady that had the accident. I've gotten several calls in the last year especially. And I was actually bit by a dog last year while I was riding a bike. And it was also in the first district. It wasn't these dogs that we're talking about. But it's a problem, you know. I think that everyone, you know, needs to take control of their animals and keep them up, you know. Not necessarily, we don't want a leash law, but, you know, keep them off the roadways for their safety and the safety of walkers, cyclists, you know, people driving their automobiles. They don't want to, you know, some of these dogs are big dogs and it could do some damage to vehicles, and, you know, I think it needs to be addressed. And we've had several people, you know, that complain about it, not just 1 or 2. So.
We also have a situation where, like, there's a dog down 54, so that's a state highway. And it'll run along the right-of-way and get up and bark, and we've had drivers that have to swerve, and they're afraid that they're going to go into the other lane, just trying to avoid from having to hit the dog. With that said, I'd like to get into the first reading. I'll try to be as quick as possible. But I do think it's necessary. You all have copies. It's not the copy that's in the packet. The newest revised copy should be there in your hands. An ordinance relating to aggressive dogs on prohibited property. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Grayson County is enacting this ordinance to address the issue of uncontrolled aggressive dogs causing a danger and/or inconvenience to persons on their own private property, public roadways, county roadways, state highways, county road right-of-ways, and/or state highway right-of-ways. Whereas the Fiscal Court intends this ordinance to provide for the health, safety, and welfare of the general public. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of Grayson County, Kentucky as follows. I'm going to skip the first definition. We'll come back to that. Page 2, Section 2, harassing dogs. No owner of a dog shall fail to exercise proper care and control of his or her dog in such a manner which thereby allows the dog to enter onto a prohibited property and harass any person. Remember, we're just talking about persons. It is a violation of this ordinance for an owner of a dog to fail to exercise proper care and control of his or her dog, thus allowing said dog to enter onto prohibited property and harass any person. We use some pretty general terms in there, but I've defined those. Dog means a domestic canine. Harassing means the behavior of a dog which acts in an aggressive manner towards any person. A non-exclusive list of examples would be chasing a motor vehicle, chasing a cyclist, chasing passers-by on foot, growling, biting, barking, attempted biting, etc. Owner means any person who owns, possesses, or otherwise provides food, water, or shelter to the dog in question. Animal control officer means a person employed by Grayson County Fiscal Court to enforce the provisions of KRS Chapter 258 and any provisions of Kentucky revised statutes relating to vicious dogs and the cruelty, mistreatment, or torture of animals along with the provisions of this ordinance. Prohibited property means the private property of another a public property, a public roadway, a county roadway, a state highway, or the right-of-way of either a county or roadway or state highway. Section 3, Animal Control Officer powers, duties under this ordinance. A, investigation. The Animal Control Officer shall investigate any complaint of a violation or potential violation of this ordinance, and further shall assist the county attorney in reviewing or investigating any complaint brought directly to the county attorney's office. The Animal Control Officer, upon his or her investigation, may 1, issue a verbal warning of violation, 2, issue a written warning of violation, 3, apply for a criminal complaint, 4, refer the matter to the county attorney, or 5, take no action. These rights given to the Animal Control Officer are not exclusive, and any combination may be utilized as necessary to address a violation of this ordinance. B, seizure, impoundment, and restitution. The Animal Control Officer may enter upon the private land of the owner of a harassing dog and seize and pound such animal without the owner's consent. This right does not grant the Animal Control Officer the right to enter the owner's private residence or any private buildings without a search warrant issued by a judge. If the seized dog is adjudged a vicious dog by a court of law under KRS Chapter 258, said animal will be handled as the court directs. If the seized dog is not adjudged a vicious dog, the animal shall be returned to the owner upon payment of a reasonable cost determined by the animal shelter and the county based upon their rights under KRS Chapter 258. In the event that the dog is not returned to the owner due to a court determining it is a vicious dog or due to the owner forfeiting the animal or in accordance with any other order of the district court, the owner under this ordinance shall be liable for reasonable costs associated with a shelter and/or county keeping and caring for the animal and any restitution due, including veterinary treatment costs. Penalty. Any person in violation of this ordinance shall, upon conviction, be fined no less than $100, but not more than $250 for each dog in each violation. A violation of this ordinance will require the payment of any and all restitution due as referenced in above Section 2 of this ordinance. Severability, Section 5. Severability is intended throughout and within the provision, sentence, clause, phrase, or portion of this ordinance is held to be invalid or unconstitutional by a court of competent jurisdiction, and that decision shall not affect the validity of the remaining portion of this ordinance.
Jeremy, I've got 4 complaints in my district. We got neighbor's dogs killed a calf, come over on the property and killed a calf. That was over on 736. On Watershed Road, we had three dogs killed a little girl's pet goat. Then a neighbor of mine, a dog come over and killed their house dog. Will this take care of, doesn't mention anything about killing another animal? I'm just wondering.
Right. No, it doesn't. There was a complaint like this brought to my office last year that's currently in suit. They filed suit for that. The reason that I did not include that is because I believe that if the court's going to consider this ordinance, it needs to be really targeted at the protection of people. Do the animals need protected? Yes. But I think this first step is probably the most important one.
Okay.
If the court wants to consider one protecting, someone's animals, which are considered property, they have a little more rights in civil court to take it for damaging their property, versus if the dog is out there barking at them or chasing them, they have to have damages to bring that suit. Sometimes just the harassment itself is not enough to get those damages. So that's why I did it this way.
Okay.
Yeah, but the answer is, no, this is more targeted at protecting our citizens.
Well, like you said, it's a start, and I'm okay with this. Good.
Any other questions?
How many more counties got this?
Well, I've got, there's probably, I don't have a read on all 120 counties.
So we have close counties.
Yeah, I know that, I've got the stack here, Davies County, Ohio County, Hardin County, they've all been through this issue. And so a lot of theirs are more comprehensive. We have city here in Litchfield, we have city ordinances pertaining to that. I'm sure Clarkson does too, but the city ordinances are pretty broad as far as controlling the animals here. So when we have an issue in the city and I get someone that wants to take charges, then I usually contact the city attorney or the mayor, and we talk through that because they have a liability for the police there to use those or to send them a letter or do whatever. Here in the county, it's a little bit different, but in line with the fact that we're not doing a leash law. You know, some of those broad ordinances that, you know, are 20 pages, they really control how someone's supposed to take care of their animals. And I think that our culture here is just maybe a little bit different about that, based on the history of dogs being used in farming and, you know, different pieces of land like that.
So this wouldn't pertain to anybody, say, of course, I've got dogs. Of course, I've got a large area and they never see any neighbors, but unfortunately, some people are not that lucky, I guess you'd say, that they don't live beside somebody or something. So, you know as well as I do that neighbors neighbors have arguments with other neighbors. And if they see this dog off of the owner's property, and of course Todd gets a lot of these phone calls, it's just, you know, sometimes we're not able to, you know, there's no law that's been broken, so I mean, there's really nothing that, you know, he can do to it. Of course, you get those calls as well. But say if a dog's just coming over and taking, say you're using the restroom in their neighbor's yard, and someone calls, is this going to pertain to anything like that, a nuisance or anything at all?
No, it won't. You know, people still have the right to file a civil suit on a private nuisance. I mean, that's not something that most people do. They just kind of deal with it and grumble about it.
I just want to be clear about it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I'll be very clear.
Yeah.
It's not about the animals being on just the prohibited property, which could be someone else's yard, farm, whatever. It's not about them simply being on the roadway. It's about the combination of them being in that prohibited area and then being aggressive towards a human being.
gotcha.
And so that's the only way that we would charge in that situation, is the combination of your dog somewhere it's not supposed to be, and it's making someone think they're gonna get hurt, or it's hurting them, or it's you know, creating a volatile situation.
But there are other steps that
Yes.
residents can take if they're having a nuisance problem with someone else's animal. It's just that the animal control officer will not be able to handle that situation, correct?
Right, not through that ordinance, and
Okay.
if they need advice, like I said, through the civil courts, then I'm always happy to talk to them. You know, we
Gotcha.
work closely with the Litchfield Animal Shelter here, the Litchfield Animal People, you know, the animal control here, and Todd. And so if someone would have asked me to do something like this 2 years ago, I wouldn't have a real understanding of how it really is out there. And maybe I'm just, you know, I'm using it through different stories and reports that people directly tell me. But I think that in drafting this, we take an aim at the biggest problem, but limiting it so much that we can control it. And we're not involving law enforcement. You know, they are taking care of us. They have plenty of cases that we see come through court, important things. This goes through the animal control officer for the county and me, and my office. And so, you know.
I have a couple of videos on my phone of some of the dogs in question, if somebody wants to see them, that some people sent to me. So,
Because these other counties, Jeremy, they have the, I guess, going back to my first question about being more an aggressive ordinance, not so much as the leash law, but do they have do they have ordinances on, what I was talking about a while ago about killing other animals and
They,
some of them?
some of them do.
Is that a big ordeal to get accomplished?
Well, I mean, as far as drafting an ordinance to address that, no, it's not.
Or,
And if that's something that the court would like for me to put into this, I can, or if it's something that the court wants to consider a little bit down the road, I'm.
these complaints that I have are about, they're within the last year, basically since, and, you know, I wanted, of course, we want to do something to, because I understand the frustration. I think the one actually made restitution on the little girl's goat, but the others hadn't, and I don't know if that's something we might need to consider adding later or not. I don't want to spring something on everybody right now, and just, might be something we can discuss and add to this later, maybe.
Well, if that's something the other magistrates think that they would like to, I mean, you can either, we haven't got a motion on the floor to adopt this ordinance yet, so I mean, if you would like for Jeremy to change the wording of it, we could come back at the beginning of January and have another reading of it and have that wording added to it. And, but you know, you could get with your constituents and see if that's something. Of course, now, I hear a lot more of it probably than you all do because Todd's office is in here. And then, you know, it gets passed on to Jeremy, so he can tell you a little bit more about it. But I will tell you, I've got 3 animals of my own. Well, actually, I got a lot more than that, but 3 dogs. And, but, you know, it's my responsibility to keep my animals, you know, out from other people's yards and out of their way. And, you know, unfortunately, we have some folks that don't do that, so. and-
This is the biggest issue right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the people, but the other is, I don't want to downplay to say this other animal issue is not a big issue either. It is, and it historically has been. You know, we'll have to do a second reading, even if we wanted to just move forward with this today to go for a second reading, we'd still do that, but if you all vote.
You can still amend it.
Yeah, we would just basically have a new first reading of an amended one that I would draft if you all voted that way.
It's, like I said, it's open for discussion. I mean, you all,
I think it's a good idea to add something to it.
About protecting people's livestock.
Yep.
I would also add this. I know a gentleman several years ago that had an accident he was a cyclist, and he had an accident as a dog ran out in front of him, and the homeowner was held responsible. I don't know if a lot of people understand that or they realize that, but, you know, they were held responsible and they had to pay for his.
same way with horse and cattle.
Yeah, exactly.
He would prove it.
He was, they were held responsible for his ambulance, his hospital bills, replacing his bicycle. And some of these bicycles that people ride now, you know, they're pretty expensive. The young lady that we met with, you know, she said she had a real expensive bike, you know, and I mean, it's a pretty big deal, you know, when they get out on the road. Not just to, I know a fellow that hit a dog and he had to pay $500. You know, he had to pay his deductible because it tore the fender off of a vehicle. So it's a pretty big liability to let them run out on the road in front of people.
Tell me if I'm wrong or right, though, if you're in the process of trying to pursue a piece of livestock and try to retain it back into where it's supposed to be, the liability changes somewhat, doesn't it?
Yeah,
If you're in the process of trying to catch this dog, if it just got away, you're in the process of getting it caught, and pretty well has to be on site, though, I think. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
there's actually a lot of different laws concerning fencing, whether you got sufficient fencing, which change your liability levels.
My point is, though, that maybe, you know, everybody has a dog get loose. You know, they kind of need to be protected to that one time. I mean, if you know what I mean. The liability does change, though, there, doesn't it? To a certain extent.
So in your hypothetical, you're talking about like if your dog gets out and it goes after somebody or another animal, but you're trying to.
Yes, you're in
Trying to make an
pursuit.
attempt.
You're in pursuit, I guess. is the last
Yeah,
word.
I think what's going on, and I know what you're getting at, Damon,
I'm pertaining back to cattle really, but I mean, I never really.
Right. And I would think that Todd gets these calls every day, all day, and he pretty well knows, well, Norman gets them too, is you pretty well know who's trying to,
Well, yeah.
trying to get, work with their neighbors and work with the animal control officer and the law enforcement. But I think this one in particular here, they're not interested
I don't think so. I think Jeremy's actually sent out a
in
letter.
working with anyone.
And it's not, this isn't like an isolated event.
No.
My letters.
That's what I'm saying, there is a little bit of a protection in between there is what I'm,
Right,
Yeah.
and that's, I think that,
I think it'd be almost up to officer discretion, I guess, in a case like that with the animal control officer.
and that, yeah, that's why we built in those different options too,
Mhm.
because Todd said, well, we need this, I want this. We can also give them a warning. Well, of course you can. We're not out to, I'm not out to prosecute people, I just want to change behavior, even before we get to that point, so that we can all live in peace together, the best we can.
It's just like a speeding violation.
Yeah, I mean,
You
like
don't
what
have,
he's,
you stop somebody for speeding, you don't have to write them for speeding. Sometimes we wrote them a warning.
Mhm.
So Todd can write citations.
What he'll do is, he can give the warnings, or he can sign a complaint through my office. Or if it's, if it's a little more complex, then I can deal with the neighbors to have them sign the complaint. So the criminal complaint would issue through my office.
So what you're doing here might take care of the problem you're talking about with animal too. So, we could do this, and if we needed to, we could add to it later.
There's already, isn't the.
I couldn't understand what Brian was talking
We could add to it later if we had
About the
to.
dog.
This might take care of the
livestock,
problem.
You can dispatch.
we
them
get
in,
started
correct?
with this and then add the
On a
animal.
statute.
Yeah, it's up to you all. That's why, I'm always
Yes.
open for discussion if you
Okay.
want.
If an animal is aggressive, I'm sorry, the sheriff was asking about a situation where you're able to, eliminate the animal that is pursuing your animals or your children or yourself or whatever. That is in the KRS that you can do that. The problem is that, well, not the problem, but the situation is most people generally don't want to kill animals. Especially if they know it's their neighbor dog, because they know it's just going to escalate the situation. I would ask this in consideration, if you all do vote for me to add something in concerning aggressive dogs towards other people's livestock and animals, that we limit it, that I be allowed to limit it towards where an animal's actually injured or killed. Because those are the only cases I'll be able to move forward with if we have evidence.
Right.
Because it's gonna be real easy for a neighbor that doesn't like another neighbor to say, well, the dog was in.
That's what I was getting at during the first
That's
thing
a
I
good
told
point.
you.
Yeah.
Because, if you have a neighbor that just don't like the other neighbor, they're gonna be calling all the time saying, their dogs was just in my yard.
Yeah. I
So
agree,
you
Bill.
don't, we haven't got the manpower to deal with that sort of thing, and Norman does it, and Todd does it, and
We've had people ask for autopsies on animals to determine which animal attacked their dog.
yeah, so.
I said, that's not gonna happen.
This one right here might take care of everything.
Let's go ahead and do that and fix it where it'll take care of the livestock like you just suggested, if that's okay with everybody else.
It's up to you guys,
I'm good with it. Where it's obvious injury or death.
You want to make a motion and vote on that?
Any motion? Do you want that, do you want to change the wording first, or do you want to go ahead and read this first reading and then amend it for the second reading?
Well, either way, we'll have to start at the first reading again.
Right.
To publish it. So at this point, if you all want me to change anything, if you vote to change anything, then we'll have basically a new first reading of the amended.
Okay. So you want to make the changes, Darren, you want to go ahead and do this?
I think we need, let's just go ahead and do it all at one time, if that's okay with everybody else, if you're,
I'm here, whatever you all vote.
All right. Let's do a motion to make the changes, and your changes would be?
I'll make the motion that we, add changes to the dog ordinance to the protection of injury or death to livestock.
livestock being a broad spectrum, which, I mean, you could be sheep,
Pet,
goats.
pets or livestock, other pets or livestock. Is that okay?
Yep. Anything, guys? I mean,
Sounds fine to me.
all right, well, there's a motion, so is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Kevin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed, okay. All right, that's it, old business. Norman, old business. Okay, so, anybody?
No, sir.
Anybody? James, no? Anybody? Jeremy?
No, thank you.
All right, I just want to tell everybody this is the, of course, this will be our last meeting of 2020.
Better.
Let's get this thing out the door, and hopefully 2021 will be a little bit better. And I just want to tell everyone Merry Christmas, and I hope we have a whole lot better new year than what we've had this year. It's been difficult for everyone, and wish everyone Merry Christmas, especially from us, Fiscal Court. And if everyone would remember Norman's mother, Damon's father, and Neil's wife. Neil's wife, Debbie, still.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for the prayers, requests and stuff. It's meant a lot to me. She's getting there, but it's going to be a while.
Yeah. And Damon, your father.
Thank you.
Yeah, we want to remember him. And then Norman, he's dealing with his mother also. So a lot of people's going through a lot of time, a lot of bad times right now during the holiday season. So, but let's just all remember each other. So, and I want to thank you all. It's been a tough year for all of us. It's been a tough year for me, and
You've done a good job.
just a lot of stuff going on. Talk with the health department just to let you all know, if y'all have people ask, we're looking for possibly the vaccine to show up here next week. And of course, it'll be frontline workers first that will be given the vaccine. Of course, you all know there'll be some people that don't want to take it. You all will be given the option also. And through the health department, whether you take it or not is completely up to you. But just to let you all know, you will have constituents and people asking about how we don't know exactly when that's going to be coming down the pipe, but we think it could be possibly next week. So just
I'm planning on taking it.
just to let you all know what's going on with that. So nothing else. Need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Tommy, second by Darren, all in favor?
Aye.